Well, there's been a decline in the number of executions in the United States. A new report by the Death Penalty Information Center says 39 people have been put to death this year. It's the second time in almost 2 decades that fewer than 40 people were executed in the U.S. A shortage of lethal injection chemicals is believed to have contributed to a drop in capital punishment. But the key reason for the decline is the increasing number of judicial mistakes. As a result of more advanced DNA testing, more than 140 people have been exonerated and freed from death row. Well, Diann Rust-Tierney is the executive director at the National Coalition to Abolish the Death Penalty. She joins us now live from Washington, D.C. Good to have you with us. So is this just a temporary dip in the number of executions, or is this the beginning of a much longer trend, do you think?
The reality is that the report is actually showing us that the death penalty is on its way out. It is more evidence that the death penalty's demise is inevitable. It's not a question of whether the death penalty will end in the United States, but when.
How does that fit, though, with those polls that show that a majority of people are still in favor of the death penalty and capital punishment in the U.S.?
Well, as the report indicated, support for the death penalty has actually declined markedly over the years. But the real story is the increase over the years in the number of people who oppose the death penalty. There are 90 million Americans who oppose the death penalty in the United States, and that's why the death penalty is going to be ended.
All right, now, why are the number of executions going down? Is it simply down to economics, a shortage of chemicals, or is there something else going on behind the scenes, you think?
Well, what we see is that the more the public comes to know about the death penalty, the more they dislike it, and that's what's increasing the rate at which the death penalty is declining. There's one story in the report, a quote by former President Jimmy Carter, who said when he was the governor of the state, a state like Georgia that executed people, he didn't really understand how unfair the process is. But the more he came to understand it was unfair, the more he came to oppose it. So the public is learning more and more about the death penalty. They don't like it, and that's why it's going to end in the United States.
All right, now what implications would a decline in the death penalty or an end to the death penalty have for race relations in the U.S.?
Well, I think, again, one of the values of the debate that we're having on the death penalty in the United States is that more and more people, a broad cross-section of people, are getting engaged in this process. And one of the concerns with regard to the death penalty is the fact that it seems to value some lives more than others. So if we end the death penalty in the United States, it will help us move towards a fairer criminal justice system.
All right. Thanks so much for your thoughts on that.
Thank you.
Now,